Hey, it's Emma from Differences here, and I am somewhat bored, so I'm going to do a video. And this is going to be a Weiss Schwarz tutorial, basically a redo actually, because I find that people are having a lot of questions on the first video that we made on Weiss Schwarz, and I think since I'm taking over for a lot of Weiss Schwarz stuff now, I'll just start from the really beginning, which is how to play this game. Alright, so let's get to it. Alright, so first of all, this is the standard Weiss format, and this is the layout. So what we have is, this is where you put your deck, and this is known as the waiting room, which is, for easy term, is just known as the graveyard, or what do they call it, Vanguard? The drop zone. Yes, the drop zone. So this would be called the drop zone in Vanguard. This is the memory stage. What that actually means is just cards that are out of play are left here. So it's just the out of play zone. So when cards are removed from game, this is where it goes. So the main stages in this game is the front 3 rows and the back 2 row. This is known as the stage. And basically it's separated into the front rows and the back row. Kind of like Vanguard, where we have front and back rows, except there's 6 in Vanguard and there's only 5. This is known as the clock zone. This over here is the level zone. This is known as the climax slot. So whenever you play a climax card, this is where it should be, but normally people just play it wherever on the field. I'll explain what a climax card is after. This is the stock zone. So this is where your resources go, basically. If that's how I would interpret it as. This is where you will put your resources when so it's the zone for it. Alright. And then let's see, where should I begin? Alright. Let's take a look at the standard Weiss Schwarz card. We shall look at, what's it called? Let's look at Nemu. I think that is close enough. Alright. So this is the standard Weiss Schwarz card. Basically, we have a bunch of effects here, but we'll ignore that for now. Up in the left corner here, on the top number it says 3, and on the bottom it says 2. 3 is representing the level that you have to be to play this card. 2 is the amount of cost you have to pay to put this card out on the field. And basically, this would be a level 3 card, and it takes 2 costs, so 2 stock. 2 from your stock to play out this card onto the field. And then to furthermore read some of the more basic things about Weiss Schwarz card. And I am zooming on her boobs, which I'm not intentionally doing, but alright. So here we have the bottom left hand corner. So what we have here, the 10,000, that's power. So whenever you're fighting something, if you're larger than it, then that's your power level. That's your power. You just beat people up with it. On the side here, see these 2 icons? These 2 specific icons right here. That represents is known as soul. And this basically represents how much damage you're doing with this card. And on the top right hand corner here we have an icon, and what this represents is that when this card is drive checked during battle, the card that you're attacking with gains 1 additional soul, so it will do 1 additional damage. Alright, so those are the basic things that basically how you read cards in this game, and I will now zoom out. And I shall go back to this field. Alright, so to begin with, so first of all, when you begin in this game, so you have a deck of 50. If I forgot to mention that, then sorry, but I think those are some of the more tiny things that I probably won't be really mentioning, because so a deck consists of 50 cards, 42 of them are units, and well, 42 of them can be whatever you want to put in, and 8 of them has to be Climax cards, and I'll explain what Climax cards do in a bit. But to start a game, so you put it like this, you draw 5 cards, and then you have the option of mulliganing at the beginning of the game. So if you choose the mulligan, say like this card, and this card, then you simply put them into the waiting room, and you draw 3. Draw the amount that you just ditched, and then you can only do this once at the start of the game. And then for really simple fix, when you deck out, let's say if everything is now here, you refresh. So this is known. So when you deck out, this is known as refresh. So basically, what you do is you shuffle your waiting room and put it back, and your deck's back again, and your waiting room is completely gone. So refreshing. And when you refresh, you take something that is known as a refresh damage. So after all the effects have been resolved after your refresh, you take a refresh damage. Basically, you take this top part of your deck and put it into the claw. And what some people, this is probably the confusing thing for a lot of people. What does this mean? What does clock and what does level mean? So clock is, I'm not really sure how to explain clock in a good way, but I have to describe it. It would be known as damage. So in this game, when you're attacked by something, let's say when you are attacked by, let's say this is on the other side of the field. I'm just putting it here because I don't have enough space. Or let's say it's here, and it attacks you, so you turn it sideways like Vanguard, and this card has only 1 soul, so it deals 1 damage right now. It actually deals a bit more, but I'll talk about that later. It deals 1 damage, so you take 1 damage and you put it in the clock zone. Now, right now this is a Climax card, so actually it's I'll talk about it later. Let's pretend that's not the card I checked. Let's pretend this is the card I checked. So whenever you take a damage, it adds to your clock. When you accumulate 7, 5, 6, 7. Alright, let's say you have now accumulated 7 damage. Wait, that's 8. I'm bad at this. Alright, so when you accumulate 7 in your clock, you do something known as leveling up. So at the beginning of the game, you're at level 0. So when you level up, you take 1 card inside your current clock and you add it to the level zone. So let's say I don't need this card. I put this here. The other 6 cards go into my waiting room drop zone, and this card here stays in the level zone for the rest of the game. And in order to lose in this game is that you have to put your opponent at level 4. So basically 28 cards in the clock zone, and that's level 4. Basically if your opponent reaches level 4 first, then you win. And similar to you, if you reach level 4 first, then you lose. So that is what 2 zones are about. Now back to the Climax card. Now assuming that I take, let's say if I take 2 damage right now, let's say the first card was this one, and the second card was this card. Now, if you trigger a Climax card, all the damage that is taken during this attack is negated. So because I just said the opponent is dealing 2 damage, so the first damage is this one, and the second card is this one. Because he is dealing 2, And because I triggered a Climax on my second damage, the attack damage is now negated, and both these two cards will now go into the waiting room. Which is why Climaxes are typically very important in this game, and you are limited to 8. Alright, another thing is that, alright, let's start from square one again. So this is my hand. I have 5 cards in my hand right now. What the level zone indicates, why it's important that you level up in whatever is that earlier I stated that on the top right hand corner here, you notice that right now it says 0 and 0. That means this card, it means that this card can be played at level 0 and it's 0 cost. What that means is that this card requires you to be at least, you have to be a minimum of level 0 in order to play this card. So for the card earlier, like the level 3 card, I don't have one in my hand right now, let's just keep drawing. Say this card, Nemu. This is a level 3 card. What that means is that you have to be level 3 or above in order to play this card. Obviously the thing is that if you're at level 3, you can also play the level 0s. Basically you can play anything under level 3 or up or below. So this card would be a late game card. It requires you to be at level 3 and you need to pay 2 costs to play this card. And what cost really means is, so let's say first turn I played this card. So I play in the front zone because only cards in the front zone can attack. And your back zone is basically something that can never be targeted unless it's by effect. So let's say if I have a card in the back zone, my opponents cannot attack this card. What this really means is that the back zone is usually the supporting role. So usually support cards are played in the back and attacking cards are played in the front. That's just what it really means. So when I attack, I tap. So I turn my card sideways. I do a drive check now. So I flip the top card. And unlike Vanguard, which when you drive check, the card goes to your hand, right? When you drive check, the card goes to your stock. So it goes over there face down, and you cannot look at it from now on. So what this means is that back to here is that this card requires 2 costs. What it really means is that it requires you 2 stock, so you need to pay these 2. These 2 go to the waiting room when it's paid, and then you can play this out at when you're level 3, of course. But we're just gonna simplify things right now. Another thing is that every card that attacks, so all cards in the front row when they attack, every card does a drive check. So if you have 3 cards in the front, you do 3 drive checks in 1 turn. This is very common in Weiss Schwarz, and it's not OP or anything. It's and this is why there's deck refreshing and whatnot. Alright, so back to another thing, very simple thing. I will Climax cards. So according to this rulebook I'm reading, the phases go by. Alright, so before you attack, at the start of your attack phase, you can play a Climax card. So this is right before our attack phase. You can play the Climax card here, and what they really do is they're just kind of like magic cards. You can kind of treat them as spell cards in Yu-Gi-Oh. It activates something. It's usually this is just you follow the effects on the card. It will tell you that it'll do something. In this card specifically, it says that you can choose one of your characters and add 2,001 soul. So it gives this character an additional 2,000 attack and 1 more additional damage. And basically, after you activate this, at the end of your turn, it goes to your waiting room. Alright. So that's kind of the basic of this game. Now, handling attack power. So I'm just going to take this mat away now, actually, because I kind of handle a lot of basic things. Actually, let's talk about one more thing before I move on. Alright, so putting this back here at the start of the game, so I draw 5. Let's say I don't mulligan. I do not mull. This is bad hand, by the way. At the beginning of games, you typically want some level 0s to play. Otherwise, you get great stuck in this game in the sense that because you haven't reached the level yet, so you can't actually play the cards. So the cards don't really do anything. So one of the good things about this game is, so assuming I go first, I draw 1. So I have 6 cards in my hand. At the beginning of your turn, you may choose to do something known as clock. This is known as the clock phase. And what this does is that you may take 1 card in your hand, place it into your clock. So you're giving yourself a damage now, basically. And then you can draw 2. And you can do this once per turn. So you can't do it forever, and you can't just suicide or whatnot, or try and clock as many times as possible to level up so you can play your cards or accumulate the right cards in your hand. So you can do this once per turn. The other thing is, for whoever is going first, assuming I can only attack once. So unlike Vanguard again, in this game, for whoever's going first, you may play a card out and attack right away. So if I'm going first, I can play a card and attack, but I'm only limited to 1 attack in the beginning of the game. Another thing is that these are just very simple things. So let's say since I have 3 slots, right? Let's say if these 2 slots are occupied, so because there's 3 front row slots, and let's say this slot is not occupied, and so it's an empty slot here, right? And this does not apply to even if you have a back row. Let's just say these are support cards and whatnot. So if my opponent is attacking me when I have an empty slot in front of me, their card gains 1 soul, meaning they do 1 additional damage when they're attacking an empty field or empty slot. So basically at the start of the game, if you choose to attack, then you will do 2 damage instead of 1. Most level 0s only have 1 soul, so it will do 2 damage if it's attacking empty field, which should be empty because you went first. And so you drive check, and here's another important thing. When you drive check, so I mentioned about the symbols earlier. So when you drive check, you do get effects, and for this particular effect, there's 2 of these symbols. What this means is that this is really standard. It means that your card now gains 2 additional soul, meaning this card now has a total of 3 souls, and if you're attacking an empty field, it has 4 souls. And that's all it really does. And the effects typically only applies to the card that's attacking. So if you drive check this, you get a particular effect because there are different icons in this game, and I'll explain them in a minute as to what they do. So this is a standard double soul icon, so it adds 2 soul to your card. So you drive check this, and it goes to the stock. So it goes to the stock face down here. You may not look at this. Similarly, if someone's attacking you and you damage check your Climax card, let's say like this, then your damage is now cancelled. And so that is the basic of Weiss Schwarz, and basically you continue playing until your opponent's level 4. And as I stated before, you have to be let's just do a little review here. So this card is a level 1 cost. It means you have to be level 1 in order to play this card. So, which I am now because I placed the card in my level zone just for purposes. And it takes 1 cost to play this out. Another thing to mention. During your attack phase, let's say if this is my opposing opponent and this is my character. I hope this isn't too messy of a tutorial. Alright, when I attack, because I am 6,000 and my opposing opponent is only 3,500, as stated, I will defeat this in battle. When a card is defeated in battle, it is reversed. So on my opponent's side, it will look like it's on the right side up right now. But let's say if it was the other way around. Let's say if this card, my opponent had that card, and it attacks my 3,500, and I lose. This card loses in battle. It becomes reversed. This is basically to this is to show that it lost in battle. So it basically it died basically, or it got destroyed in battle, etc., etc. But in this game, after the battle, after your attack step for both opponents, there's something known as an encore step, and this is generic. So every series can do this. You have the option to choose to during the encore step, which is at the end of battle phase, at the battle step. You may choose your opponent. So this is usually at the end of a turn. So after all attacks have been finished, and let's say if I have one reverse card here, so it lost in battle, and I want to revive this. Like I want to keep this on the field, because if I don't do anything, this will simply go to the waiting room, and then it will be an empty slot, and then next turn I can play something over it. But let's say I don't want this to die. I need this on the field. I have the option to choose to pay 3 stock and then put it back into rest. And then at the start of my turn it refreshes, right? So it turns back up basically. You know, like same as Vanguard, stand and draw. Yes. That is the basic of like battling. There are 2 types of battle. So the one I just demonstrated, if I tap this, let's say I attack this, this is known as a front battle. A front battle is when they attack directly. So in this case, because it's opposing me, it has higher power than me, I will lose. There's a second type of attack known as a side attack. What this means is that a side attack is when... Oh, I need to read this actually. Alright, so back to attacking stuff. So during a side attack, my damage is determined by my opponent's character's level minus my soul. So just to review, since my opponent's card right now is level 1 and I am doing 1, my card does 1 soul. It is 1 minus 1. My opponent's level 1 minus my soul amount, which is 1. So I do 0 damage if I side attack. This is assuming that I do not get an icon. Okay. However, if I get an icon, because this says it adds 1 soul to my card, right? Now I have 2 souls, so 1 minus 2 is -1, right? Which means I still have 1 damage left that I can deal to my opponent. In this case, if I drive check something with an icon, then I can deal a damage. So that's, to put it simply, those are 2 types of attack. So side attacks are usually used when you're trying to avoid your card being destroyed, or when you basically have nothing in your hand to kind of replace it. Another usage is that you want to keep things on the field, so it lessens the amount of damage you take, because when something is attacking you for direct damage, they gain an additional soul, right? So if you have something on the front row to like basically shield you, then it kind of lessens the damage you take. And the other thing is that during the level 0 stage is that typically level 0s usually side attack other level 0 if they can't like run it over. This is just to keep resources basically on the field. And the other thing is there's no penalty with side attacking a 0 with a 0, because 0 minus 0 is 0, right? So you continue to do damage when you side attack with a level 0 against a level 0. I hope that wasn't too confusing. What else did I want to mention? So I mentioned about the encore, I mentioned about the clocking step. Oh yeah, power levels. Alright, let's just take some random cards. I can't really find anything right now. Let's just take this card, and let's just take this card again. Alright. Alright. Assuming that my opponent's feels like this, so we have one of each of these cards, they have the same attack power. Alright, if I front attack something with the same attack power as me, we will both die. So in this case, after the battle is resolved, we will both cards will be reversed. This is basically for clashings. So if I'm attacking with the same amount of attack power, basically both cards will lose. Unlike Vanguard, if I take a 10k and attack a 10k, then I still destroy them because I attack first. In Weiss Schwarz, both cards will die. And so that is the basic of attacking and the basic of how a game runs. Another thing I want to mention about costing is that noticing, you guys probably noticed this by now, but you see different color borders, right? This indicates different attributes basically. Each color basically has their own specialty. I'm not really going to talk about it right now, but one thing to mention is that when you want to play a color, let's say I want to play a level 3 green colored card, either in my level zone or my clock zone, I need to have a green card. So earlier I put a red card, right, onto my level zone. So in order to play a green card, I need to have a green, let's say I need to have a green card in either the level zone or my clock zone. So either one doesn't really matter. But basically if you play it on your level zone, it's usually secured that you have that you can play this card now. Unlike because sometimes you can have 0 damage on your clock, and then let's say if you don't have this color and you have like 2 red cards here and you're at level 3 and you're like, oh no, I don't have a green card on my clock zone, so I can't play this card now. So usually it's wise to put the colors that you need onto their level zone when you level up. And most of the time you probably won't run into color conflicts because of decks, because how you build decks are simply just usually 2 color based. And this applies to all level 1 and above cards. So starting from level 1, to play a red level 1, you need to have a red card in either the level zone or the clock zone. But the special thing about this game is that for level 0s, this rule does not apply. So at level 0, you can play any color you like. You can even have like a mix of all 4 colors in your level 0 ratios. Alright. So that is the basic breakdown of this game. The next part I'm going to get to is basically the different types of icons and different type of cards. So, one type of card here is, this is known as an event card, and to put it simply, it's really no different than a magic card or a spell card in Yu-Gi-Oh! So like, you can play this to activate something, and then it goes to the waiting room, and it has a cost usually. Some events this is a higher level event. If you guys can't see, this is a level 2 event and it's green level, so it requires a green card in your level zone or your clock zone, and also 2 costs. And it basically has an effect, you resolve it. Magic card, right? It's just a spell card, and you must activate this at the start of your main phase. So if you want to play an event card, it has to be activated basically before you play a character. Oh, actually, this is my mistake. You can actually activate this in any order you want. You can, because the main phase is actually interchangeable. So according to this rulebook I'm reading, the rule. My bad. I'm so sorry if I'm confusing you guys. So it starts off as the phases are involved is event phase, play a character, so playing character phase, moving a character, and activating an ability. So that's your activating effects. But it says here that you can resolve these phases in as many as time as you can in any order you desire. So technically I can play a character and then play an event. So yeah, just ignore what I really said at the start of this. So basically you can play an event on your turn, before your attack phase. Once you enter your attack phase, it's a different story. So during your main phase, you can activate event, which resolves this effect, and then you summon something. And now that I just remember, moving a character. In Vanguard, you can move slots between up and down, right? For Vanguard, it's only up and down. In Weiss Schwarz, you can move your character in any direction you want. You can, if it's back row, you can do this. You can basically move within each other, right? But you can also just put a front card into the back row and put a card from the back row into the front. You can move basically you can move wherever you want. So you can exchange borders with any character on the stage. It's unlike Vanguard, we can only do up and down. In Weiss Schwarz, you can do any way you want. So you can move your characters anywhere throughout the stage. It's also possible to replace your characters. Let's say if we don't have a full field and you want to play something over, just play over and this goes to the waiting room. Easy. Kind of like Vanguard, how you can override or you can call cards over cards to replace them. Alright, so what I was going to get back to, I talked about event cards, so that's one type of card. I want to get onto icons. So I already talked about the special abilities of Climax cards, allowing you to negate damage when they are damage checked. Not to confuse with drive check, because when you drive check a Climax card, it simply gives you an effect. And I will now show you the different type of icons that Climaxes can have. Alright, so let's start off with the most basic. So earlier I showed you the Climax card, which is this is the most, so ignoring the effects and everything, because there's a lot of generic Climax card effects. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to talk about the icons right now. So the most generic icon for Climax cards is double trigger. So when this is drive check during attack, your attacking character gains 2 souls. So if you're doing 1 soul and you drive check this, you are now doing 3 souls. If you're doing 2 souls and you drive check this, you are now doing 4 souls, assuming that you're not doing a direct attack. If you're doing a direct attack, then you gain an additional soul, basically. So that is double trigger. The next one I have on top of here is this here has a golden bag icon. Just ignore the face. Just look at the icon here. This is the bag icon, and when it is checked, so when you're attacking and you drive check this, you get to put an additional stock from the top of your deck into your stock. So this goes to your stock, right? But when you drive check this, you can put an additional card onto your stock now. So basically, you get 2 stocks when you drive check this. The next icon is the hurricane or the tornado icon. So one of them's so notice how there is one normal trigger icon. It means that you gain 1 soul. And then the second icon is the tornado icon. The tornado icon is you may select one of your opponent's characters, and return it back to their hand. Just to mention, the tornado does not count as a soul, so you only get 1 soul for this card, and the tornado is an effect on itself. Same with the bag. The next icon is This is the gold. This is known as the gold bar icon or the money icon. What this means is that when you drive check this card, when you drive check this Climax card, you add this Climax into your hand, and then you put one card from the top of your deck into your stock. So basically, you still get your stock, but this card also goes to your hand. The next icon is the gate icon or the door icon. I don't know if you guys can tell, but that's supposed to be a door. Alright, what this means is when this is drive checked, you can choose one character from your waiting room and add it back to your hand. And then this goes to stock. The next icon is the flame icon. This also gives your character one additional soul. The flame icon is if your opponent cancels this damage during this attack, they take additional damage. So if they cancel your attack, if they cancel the damage you have dealt this turn, they will take one more damage. So basically just take one card from the top of their deck and add it into your damage zone. And that card is also cancelable, so if they're really good at this game, they will double cancel this at 3/6. Level 3/6 damage. Yeah. So that's the flame icon. It deals additional damage when your opponent cancels your damage. And the last one is... this is the book icon. The book icon is when you drive check this, you draw an additional card, and this card still goes to the stock. So those are all the different icons or Climax icons in this game. One thing to not get confused about is that when you cancel something, these effects do not activate. So don't think that when you cancel your damages, you still get to draw one or something. When you cancel, these cards are just nothing. They're just vanillas, or they're just damage negators, because when you cancel, nothing activates. But when you drive check these cards, depending on the icon, you gain some sort of effect. And these are usually color coded, as in like the tornado icon is typically only reserved for yellow cards. The bag icon is reserved for green, similar with the golden bar icon, which is only a green thing. The book icon is a blue color trait. The flame is also a yellow trait only. The gate icon is only reserved for red. Oh wow, you guys can't even see it. My bad. Alright, so just to review, the book icon is only for blues, gate is only for reds, the bag and the gold bar is only for green, the flame icon and tornado icon is only for yellows, and the double triggers are generics. So every color has its own 2-trigger Climax. So those are the symbols of this game. So those are the Climax symbols or the icons. Wow, I might be making this very confusing because there are a lot of things to review. A lot of icons. You don't have to remember it all. I'll probably post a link to like a translated rule book so you guys can read over how this game is played, in case I'm not making myself very clear. Alright, see the knuckle icon or the fist icon? What this means is this is a counter card. So when your opponent is attacking you, you can activate this card by just playing it out as like a trap card. And counter cards usually have some sort of counter effect, like adding more power to my character, so now it has more power, so my opponent's character is dealing less power or whatnot, and or some other effects. There are counter events as well. The last icon that I'll talk about before my camera runs out of battery is the shift icon. And I hope I can get to the card fast enough. Alright, here we go. Alright. See the little square icon here with a clock kind of thing? This is known as the shift icon. What this means is if this card is in your clock, you can exchange a color of the same color and add this into your hand. So if I had this card in my hand and I wanted to get this card from out of my clock zone, I can place this in the clock and put this into my hand. Basically that's what shift clock is. And this does not mean it's a clocking. This is simply a shift icon effect. So you can still clock out if you did the shift effect. And that is more or less the basic rundown of Weiss Schwarz. I hope I didn't make it too confusing, and sorry if I did. I hope it clears up like more of the things from the last video or the last tutorial video. Yeah, I'm tired. I can't do videos on the go kind of thing. Anyway, so that is the basic how to play this game. I'll probably start talking about mechanics after, like in the few later videos in the future, to talk about what things you can do in this game to help you improve gameplay. But if we're just talking about basic gameplay, you're just trying to get your opponent to level 4. So basically, whenever you attack, you deal damage, and you just push them up to level 4 and you win. And of course there's the different levels and the different costs, but I already mentioned that. So yep, this is Ammo from Difference in Skill, and I'll be going out now. See ya.